Hello my loves, welcome back. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I've seen a few people do this like off the top of your head book tag and I thought it looked fun. I haven't watched anyone else's videos of them doing this because the whole point of this tag is there's like questions about books for readers that you're not supposed to think about, you're not supposed to prepare answers for, you're just supposed to say the first thing that comes to your head. So I haven't watched, aside from like 5 minutes of one person's video, so I know like the first question, I haven't watched any videos because I did want this to just be entirely off the top of my head. I obviously have looked at the questions to write them down, but the pros of me having ADHD is that as soon as I wrote them down, I'd immediately forgotten them. So I learned very, very early in my journey on this channel that me just doing videos off the top of my head without planning at least something first was not a good idea, because I just end up waffling and not really making much sense. So just a warning in advance that this might be like that. Also, brief side note on me just like waffling, I'm fully in pure post-Eurovision brain rot at the moment. So like my entire head, it's just filled with crazy music. So if I'm like more waffly or making less sense than normal, that's why. It's because I'm not thinking about books right now. I am just thinking about Eurovision. So the first question is, what was your favorite picture book as a child? And the first thing that came to my head, I think it was called The English Roses, and I don't remember who it was by.
Hello, editing Nikki. So it's the book that's on screen, and I don't know how I forgot that it was written by frickin' Madonna, but anyway.
And I don't know if it would count as a picture book because there was still words in it, but there's like obviously it's mainly illustrations and art. So if we're talking about that kind of thing, it was for like slightly older children. It was basically about a group of girls who were like really jealous of this new girl who came to school, and they were really horrible to her. And probably the moral of the story was like, don't be jealous, I think. I don't really remember, I just remember really enjoying it when I was younger. If we're talking about like picture book, like no words, or would it still have had words in it? I don't know. What counts as a picture book? Postman Pat.
Hello, editing Nikki again. This is why I don't do videos with no preparation. Anyway, that is not the book I meant. I completely forgot the name of it. It's this book that's on screen right now. So just ignore the fact that I keep calling it the wrong thing.
Postman Pat, I think if that counts as a picture book, was great. It had all the little bits you could like pull out. It was very interactive. I don't remember what any of the stories were about, unless it was just about him delivering post. And I'm assuming things happen while he's delivering the post. But I remember really enjoying those a lot. So those would be my two. The second question is a series you loved as a child. And I know exactly what series I mean, but I cannot remember what it was called. It was a very long series, and it was probably for like, I don't know, late primary school, very early secondary school age is probably what it was for. There was a lot of like maybe 15 books in it, and it was just about this girl and her family and the various things that happened within her family. Oh, I don't remember what it was called. It was like similar vibes, similar time to like Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging, but it wasn't that book. It wasn't that series. I think it was called Ali's World, I think. Maybe that's what it was called. But they were really good. And like her sister had gone away, but then she came back. And there was the guy she was like really good friends with, but they clearly fancied each other. And I don't remember anything else about what happened in those books, honestly. But that is like a standout to me. I've read like all of them. They were probably some of the like earlier things that I remember reading like independently on my own. I spent like a lot of time with those books, so I'm gonna stick with those, and hopefully I got the name right, and if not, I'll put it here. I'll be really interested to know if anyone else read those, because I've never spoken to anyone else who did. I think there were other similar series at the time that were more popular, things like Jacqueline Wilson and the Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging books. They were like way more popular than the Ali's World book. So if you read those, let me know, because I'd be interested to find another person who enjoyed those. The next question is worst book you have read / tried to read. Now, this may be recency effect, but the first thing that's come into my head is Exit West, which I went on a whole big rant about in my most recent wrap up. I did not enjoy that book at all. I also really did not enjoy Iron Flame at all. I also really did not enjoy A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch. But I feel like these are all like recency biases of books that I've just not enjoyed recently. I don't know that I would say they're the worst books I've ever read. I do remember reading, I don't actually remember what the book's called, but it's the book that the back of it is where My Chemical Romance got their name from, and therefore I was like, well, that's cool, that's where My Chemical Romance got their name from, I'll read it. And I really don't remember enjoying that. I don't think I finished it. It's like 3 short stories, and I think I only read one of them and couldn't read the rest of them. However, I did try and read them when I was a teenager. My opinion of it might not be the same now. I don't think that would be fair to say that's the worst book I've ever read, because I was a teenager and my reading tastes weren't really matured at that point. And I don't think I really knew what I was going to be reading. But the most recent books that are coming to my head are the ones that I just said. And if you want to know why I did not enjoy any of those books, I've already talked about all of them here. So go and watch recent wrap up or the full review I did of the Empyrean series. The next one is Book You Loved as a Movie. At first I was like, oh, I've not seen any movie books. Immediately, I don't know what I was thinking, it's Oliver. Obviously it's Oliver. We all know my complex relationship with both Oliver Twist and Charles Dickens. I don't know that I like the book or not. I could not tell you. I've read it once, have tried to read it multiple times before that, but kept giving up because I was not enjoying it. I am going to read it again this year because I'm beginning to feel like I do actually like it. But the film, the 1968 musical film, is one of my favourite films of all time. I love that film so much. It's fantastic. In my opinion, a better story than what happened in the book. So it's one of the rare times when I would actually recommend the film over the book, because I wouldn't really recommend Oliver Twist as a book to anyone, even though I'm beginning to feel like I might like it. I'm not really sure yet. But the film, I would recommend to anyone. It's fantastic. Great music, great acting. Ron Moody as Fagin is fantastic. Jack Wilde as Dodger is fantastic. Wonderful ending, even though it's very, very different to the book. It is not like an accurate adaptation at all, but it's a fun time. It's good. Easy, easy. I can't believe I was unsure what I was gonna say, because that is obviously the answer. Number 5 is book that you wish they'd made into a movie. And I think my answer here, the first thing that came into my head, might surprise people who know me and who have watched previous videos of mine. I'm gonna say The Secret History. I know that my thoughts on The Secret History are not like wholly favourable. I will hold my hands up and say it's a good book and I did enjoy it. The second time I read it more than the first time, and it has stuck with me and I do quote it a lot. So maybe, again, maybe it's another book that I do actually like, but I think I would prefer it as a film rather than a book. And again, that's really rare for me to say, because 9 times out of 10 I would rather read a book than watch a film. I'm not really a film person, aside from like a few select films that I will watch over and over again. The Secret History, if it got the vibes right, like Dead Poet Society, Dark Academia vibes, if it got that right, I think it would be so, so good. And I think people would love it as long as it was done correctly. You could very easily do that film badly, I think, and it wouldn't live up to people's expectations and what they would want from that film. And I think for that reason I can appreciate why there never has been one. But I would be interested to see that done well as a film. I think I would like it more than the book, which is probably like sacrilege to say, but I'm just not a Secret History girl. I'm not. It's okay, but it's not my favourite. If it was a film, I think I would enjoy it more. Number 6, book character you'd like as a friend. This is a really hard question because no one is coming to mind. like absolutely no one, because all of my favorite book characters are not people that I would want to know in real life. Maybe some of the crows from Six of Crows, like maybe some of them, but still I don't really think in real life, with me as the person that I am right now, but I would actually want to be friends with any of them, really. Who would be a good friend? Like literally no one is coming to mind. The person that keeps coming back to me, weirdly, if we're just going purely off the top of our heads, I know I just said I wouldn't want to be friends with any of the crows, but the person that keeps coming back to me is Jesper from Six of Crows. I don't think we'd get on very well. I don't think I'd appreciate his gambling habits. He's too reckless and risky for me, but I do still think he'd be a good friend. I think he'd be very supportive. He'd like encourage you, lift you up, basically enable you as well. If you were like, I want to do this but I think it's kind of a bad idea, I think he'd just be like, yeah, fucking do it, why not? So that could be fun. I don't think that's really the answer, but I literally can't think of a single other fictional character. Actually, Alex Stern from Ninth House I think would be a good friend. I don't know that I would 100% get on with her. I think we are too similar in some regards. However, she is like ride or die loyal friend. Some of the shit that she did in Ninth House over her friends, incredible. I think she'd be awesome to have as a friend, and the kind of friend who would just like always have your back. Well, she wouldn't always necessarily be there for you because she kind of is a bit flaky on her friends in the book actually, but she's got good reasons for it, you know? I feel like she could be a good friend. It's a really hard question, which is crazy to me because characters are like the main thing that keeps me coming back to books or makes me think about books or care about books a lot. So this would have been the question that I would have expected to have like an answer straight away for, but yeah, a lot of the characters that I like and that I think about a lot, I would hate in real life. So the next question is a place you would like to visit because of a book. Immediately as well, my brain is empty. I'm not really a big traveler. I don't tend to leave my county, let alone my country, very often. So I don't know if there's any books that have particularly made me want to travel somewhere. I mean, they've made me want to travel to fictional worlds, sure. But even then, like, I don't want to go to Ketterdam. I would, in all fairness, coming back to Oliver Twist, yet again, I would like to go to Victorian London, like, just for a day. I wouldn't want to stay there because it would be awful. But like just for a day, you know, just to see what it was like and probably smell how awful it smelled. I think the only other place that is coming to my mind of place where I'm like, if I was in that area, I would go, but I wouldn't specifically go there, would be Forks. To be able to see like all the Twilight stuff that's there, because I just feel like that would be a fun time, but I wouldn't like go out of my way to go there. I would just like, if I was in the area, I would, you know? Two very different answers, but I'm just someone who likes staying at home, honestly. I can happily imagine places in my head, but I'm not very adventurous, despite the fact that a lot of the books I read include some kind of adventure. I like to live vicariously through my characters rather than like actually do any of that. So I'll just stay at home and not go to any of those places. Number 8 is a non-fiction book you would recommend. I don't read a lot of non-fiction, to be honest, so the first thing that comes to my head is actually right behind me, and that is Bob Mortimer's autobiography. I loved this book. I do love Bob Mortimer though, so you know, I'm gonna enjoy it more because I'm a fan of his already. I'm a fan of his comedy, his appearance on panel shows, so I obviously am more invested in knowing about his life and hearing his fun little tales. If you're not a fan of Bob Mortimer, you're probably not gonna care. Yeah, I really don't read a lot of non-fiction these days. I used to read quite a lot of it, but I feel like I'm still in that mindset where I read so much non-fiction when I was like preparing for uni and stuff like that, or when I was like training to do the job that I currently do, that I've almost been like turned off it a little bit because it just feels like work, or as something like I have to force myself to read. It doesn't necessarily feel like reading for enjoyment a lot of the time when I go to pick up a non-fiction book. I have plenty of non-fiction history books downstairs because I do really like history, but I haven't really picked any of them up or read any of them because it just seems like work to me and like it would require a lot of effort. So this is the only one I can really think of, really, and this is like a fun silly time. It's not really serious non-fiction or anything like that. So, and then the final question is, if you could hang out with an author all day, who would you pick and why? The initial person that I'm thinking is Oscar Wilde. I don't think Oscar Wilde would like me. I think he would find me boring and stupid. But I really like Oscar Wilde's writings. I like his musings on life. I think he was a very interesting person. So that would be really cool. And obviously I'm never going to have the chance to hang out with him. So if there's some magical way that I could, that would probably be who I would pick, because I feel like you would just have very interesting conversations. I would feel very, very intimidated. I would have no idea what to talk about or what to ask or anything like that, and that's why I think he wouldn't like me. I don't know that I'd want to hang out with him all day. Like, what would we do? I don't really know. I would ask him for fashion advice. He dressed well. He always looked great. So that is one thing we could talk about, I guess. It's not like particularly deep, but and wouldn't show up how silly I am. That is all the questions. That was like super fast, but that was actually quite fun. I would be really interested to know your answer to any of these questions because I feel like everyone's gonna be so different, and I just think it's fun to talk about things like this, you know, when you're not necessarily just talking about one book or opinions on one book, just generally talking about different things you used to like or authors and stuff like that. So if there were any of these questions that particularly piqued your interest, please do put your answers down below. That's all from me today. I hope wherever you are having a fantastic day, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.